My name is Mark Monlux, and I'll be your host to yet another episode of Epic Sketch Time. With me today are two fine gentlemen. We might have some more people joining us. I live here in Tacoma, Washington, and I work as a freelance illustrator. Guys, what do you do?
Hi, my name is Bill Morse. I live here in Seattle, Washington, where I work as a freelance illustrator and cartoonist, and I also do a webcomic called Rhapsodies at rhapsodies.wpmorse.com.
And hey, everybody, my name is Ian Castruita. You can check out my stuff at unfedartist.com. I'm an illustrator, graphic designer, and cartoonist working out of Tempe, Arizona.
And what are the projects that you guys are going to be sharing on screen today?
I'm playing around with trying to do a color version of a illustration I did a week and a half ago. I've been on a Game of Thrones kick to warm up for the upcoming Inktober event. And so I thought I'd had one of my images from one of the more iconic scenes from the first book I thought would be a good opportunity to practice a little bit more on Clip Studio Paint.
I am working on another strip for my comic. I've been trying to just like do a format where the character in the comic has been like starting off the gag, so to speak, at a cafe, like talking to somebody, and I decided to just kind of making it too easy on myself, so I wanted to throw a little new setting in the mix for this time, and I'm drawing the character in an airport. But it kind of goes with the punchline I'm trying to hit. But yeah, we'll see how it goes. I've like, if you've been following along on these thrilling episodes of Epic Sketch Time, you know that I've been trying to just get my webcomic up and rolling, and try to get ahead of steam and get to the point where I want to mass market it, I suppose, a little bit more, and I haven't done that yet. All the comics are up on the website, but I haven't really gone out and started promoting it on Facebook and stuff. So I'm trying to find a groove. Maybe it's a little too late for that. Maybe I should just kind of pull the trigger and let whatever happens. But I still want to kind of get into a comfortable place where I can keep up the pace. So, what about you, Mark? What do you got?
Well, I'm wondering if this wonderful... Oh, hang on. It helps if I do some screen sharing here. Not just show off my wonderful bald spot set.
We're all just captivated by it.
Okay, so here we go. This is yet another one from my next deck of cards of obscure movie aliens. I'm guessing, I know right away that neither one of you guys have seen this little gem. It is Zontar, the Thing from Venus.
Huh. Is that legs underneath it, or is that just like part of a...
Oh, he has wings. These little horns are wings, so I'm going to be expanding those out a little bit. And
oh, okay.
That's his chest. And
that's his chest, yeah.
Right, so I need to do a quick look on the internet for a visual reference to make sure he's actually looking much better here than he does in the movie. I'll see if I can find a visual reference to share with you folks. That's going to be my little project today.
Yeah, I just got your latest email blast for the film critic, or am I?
No, the comic critic.
Comic critic, thank you. Yeah, Bride of Hercules, right?
The Loves of Hercules. Yeah.
I'm just butchering everything. Well, was like finally a movie that I've seen, and I was like, hey.
You have seen The Loves of Hercules?
Yeah, it was Mystery Science Theater.
Oh my God, did it make it onto Mystery Science Theater?
Yeah, I think in this recent season, this Netflix season, that they did that, and it's just because usually, like especially when you're showing the stuff you're working on during Epic Sketch Time, I'm just like, nope, have no idea. You could just be telling me anything you want, and I'd be like, sure, that sounds right. It's like,
Okay, so let's see. Just how badly does this thing look?
So, Bill, you said you're doing Game of Thrones for Inktober, is that right?
Sort of warming up for Inktober. I'm planning on doing the prompts for Inktober.
Oh, okay.
But but considering in the past I've noticed that occasionally takes me a little longer to get into the groove of things. To the point where there's a week of subpar. I'll have a week of subpar material. I decided to warm up a little bit with a side project, and in this case, it's choosing pages of Game of Thrones, the first book of A Song of Ice and Fire, at random. And so far, I've got about 12 of them.
That seems like you always have like a challenge going for yourself every month, right? Like
not every month. Occasionally, along with Inktober, I come down with not beyond Inktober. I generally come down with this madness about once a year before, and generally manage to stick with my senses for the rest of the year.
So if you look at what I have up on the screen right now, this is about the quality of special effects on this creature. Oh yes, particularly awful. So you can see that I did a wonderful job of doing my version, which made it look way more, much cooler than this. And rather than having it green, I think I'll have it purple, because in half of the video shots it shows up purple, and another half of the video shots it turns up looking green. It all depends on, I think, the leveling that they did for the film. But yeah, Zontar, not the prettiest guy in the box.
do you often rely on just like Google searches and stuff, or do you have like high def Blu-rays of these films sometimes that you can pull reference from?
I would say about a third of the time I'm relying strictly on my memory.
Oh, wow.
I've got a fairly good visual memory, but that came back and bit me in the butt on my last deck, where I did a little troll from the cat's eye. And there's a feather in the guy's cap. And I distinctly remember the feather, so I got the feather in there, and it was the right shape and everything. But when I rewatched the movie recently, I realized I had two things wrong. One, the blade on his knife was straight. I have it sort of like in a little, like a little wavy blade like this. And that's wrong. And the feather, I had the feather the wrong color. It was a yellow canary feather. So, but no one has noticed. I guess I'm the only one being a stickler about it.
And that's half the point of going for the obscure material, isn't it?
So, That's and let's see, another third of the time I have books on various movies, and it's easier just to pull up a book visual reference because I find that the stuff that are in books typically aren't online, and you get a less scene representation. But sometimes, like, I really have to scour the internet to find even one rotten image. Like, there was
like what you just showed us.
Oh, there's several images of Zontar, but there was one from my last deck, the creature from the ocean floor. The only visual reference I could find on that one was by going into a pirated copy of the movie that was posted up on YouTube in a really low grade. It looked like it came off a scratchy VHS tape. So that was a bit of a challenge. When I originally drew these, I only had the narrow format of, say, like right along this part would be used for the inside of the card, because the card, if anyone's curious about my deck of cards, the artwork shows up like this with the call outs on either side. It's a very tall and narrow format. However, when I sell prints, they're your standard 11 by 17, which means I have to take this narrow format and kind of expand it out a little bit more. And either I'm going to have to crop stuff on the top of or the bottom, or I should add stuff in. So I'm going to be adding in a little bit more rough details on the wings and on the edges of his rib cage here. Nothing spectacular, just enough to kind of fill out the space. Because right now what I'm doing is on my prints, I have let's see, a narrow piece of artwork like this. And then for this larger piece, edge or border, I just take that same piece, enlarge it by having like a 50% gray on it. And I think that's a cheat. I think people would prefer not having that. This week, I am doing an event in Tacoma called the Lakewood Book, Art, and Film Festival. Originally, it was just open up to writers of books. So I contacted them and said, hey, I write books, and my books are movie related. And they went, oh, that's great. I said, hey, could I have a full table instead of a half table? I got a lot of movie related stuff. And at first they were kind of going, well, I don't know about you selling shirts. No one else sells shirts. I said, well, why don't you take a look at my shirts? And then once they saw what the shirts were and how they were, very movie related, they went, oh yeah, please bring your shirts. So I was happy about that. And that's going to be this Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Are either of you guys doing events in September?
Nothing yet.
I not September. Actually, on this past Friday, I attended a business seminar for it was put on by Score. You guys are familiar with Score, right? Or
I've never heard of Score before.
Oh, So SCORE is it's actually part of the Small Business Administration. It's this Service Corps of Retired Executives, and so basically, like former
I have
CEOs.
heard of SCORE. I used them way back when I first started out.
Okay, yeah, they've been huge for me as you know, a guy starting out small business and stuff, and you know, surprisingly, not many artists. I tend to be the only guy in the room, but it's you know, a great place to network. You know, that there always seems to be a lot of you know, people, not just startups, but you know, sometimes regular size companies that are coming in just to freshen up on some business insights that they normally don't get otherwise. Because a lot of SCORE events are free. Oh, excuse me.
Oh, yeah. From that perspective, I actually was trying that coffee thing that you were mentioning.
1 million cups. Yeah.
Oh, was there 1 million cups up in your neck of the woods, Bill?
Yeah, there's one on Wednesday morning, so I figured I'd try it at least once.
For those who are watching, can you give them a more specific time and date?
Yeah, just a second. Next. That is 1 million cups of coffee at the Atlas Work Base at 500 Mercer Street, Seattle, Washington, Wednesday morning at 9 a.m. And that's for all people in Seattle. That is, I believe that's in the in the same building as the QFC and across the street from the Seattle Center.
So you did go to it, or you're planning on going to it?
Planning to.
Okay. Yeah, I actually enjoy the meetups a lot. I mean, are you familiar with the format of how it goes down, or is this?
I assumed it was pretty much standard networking format.
Yeah, it is. Basically, there's one company that's chosen to present what their company is, and it could be pretty much anything. A lot of times it's profit, but sometimes it's nonprofit. But they talk about their company, and it's kind of like a dry run for a company to kind of you know, maybe seek investment or something like that. And so with all these other business owners in the room, they have an opportunity to say, oh, well, you know, have you thought about this? Or you know, they start asking questions that since it's kind of like a no risk environment, you know, it's a great place to kind of test out ideas, see if there's a market for your product, and just really get some insight. And a lot of times, yeah, networking is a huge part of it. You might have somebody in there who's like an intellectual property lawyer,
right,
and would be excited to help you out. So yeah, it's kind of fun. I like the aspect of really kind of digging into, you know, the viability of a business and really understanding that and understanding the types of questions that business owners ask. So it was great for that.
Cool, because I definitely need all the practice with networking that I can get, because left to my own devices, I tend to be a bit of a wallflower.
Yeah.
Now, one of the things is that you may want to come in early to schmooze, because no one sticks around afterwards, at least not when that was happening here. And they're the ones that get there's not a round table of everybody introducing themselves. Everyone comes to listen to these guys, and then they get a very short few minutes, I think like 5 minutes tops. And then there's like about 15 minutes of Q&A afterwards. And the Q&A is, like you say, the really interesting part. Was the format pretty much the same as I described it in your neck of the woods, Ian?
Yeah. There's not too many people who hang out, but there are some over here. it could have changed after they moved the venues. I remember the local chapter of A Million Cups over here wanted to move to a more central location. That they were over here in the East Valley, and they were worried that people in the West Valley couldn't make it out. But since it's early in the day, usually people try to show up before they have to go to work. And so, yeah, you're not going to get too many people who don't have a job to get to right after. And it's a good chance to network before the event as opposed to after. But the presenters usually stay and exchange business cards and welcome additional questions and stuff like that.
Okay, so you're saying when it says 9, try to be there at 8, or
I'd say 8:30.
Yeah,
okay.
not that far in advance. These people have other things better to do for the most part.
I think the big thing about networking is just finding an opportunity to speak to somebody instead of just trying to create an opportunity to speak to somebody. It changes how you interact with somebody, because I mean, it's like hitting on a girl in a bar. It's so easy to just have something to talk about. And so if you already know something about the other person's business and you're like, oh, I did a project like that, or I have a friend who's in your same line of work or something. It's so much nicer to have that conversation as opposed to, hey, what do you do for a living? Or how do you make money? I mean, it's just like,
yeah, I mean, the closest to that I've been having recently is there's a type group, typesetting group that I've been attending, which is everything from calligraphers to font designers. And so it's been very frequently interesting talk to the various people, because, I mean, my interest in it is just mostly just lettering in the comic strip, but that's enough to impress people.
Yeah, I love calligraphy. There's just some amazing stuff on Instagram that I've been watching and following, and it's beautiful to watch it done just like freehand by somebody who knows what they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the only other thing I got coming up is AIGA's local chapter is having their annual conference at the beginning of October. So not September, but that's going to be happening soon. And I think the national conference for AIGA is happening in Vegas sometime soon too. But I've never gone to that one. But I'm pretty excited to attend this year's conference here in Phoenix, because Aaron Draplin is going to be attending and presenting, and he has an individual workshop which I signed up for. I'm pretty stoked about that.
What's he known for?
He is. I'll put up his website. So he's a graphic designer, does a lot of logos and everything, but he has a store of merchandise where he's basically sold everything under the sun. I mean, beanies, shirts. I think he sells socks and like combs and toothbrushes.
Is this like a slightly heavy set with a beard?
Oh yeah.
Okay, I know who you're talking.
He's from your guys' neck of the woods. I would figure you know him actually.
I've only seen him on videos.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's one sharp designer.
Yeah, I mean, he definitely knows his stuff, but I guess he's had a lot of success with his field notes, which are basically moleskin little notebooks. But he makes special edition ones, and otherwise the regular ones are out for sale. But I mean, his business savvy is pretty remarkable, and he's a great designer, like you said. So I'm looking forward to finding out what he has to share, and hopefully get some inspiration. Yeah, I'm looking at his site right now. It's just crazy to me that a graphic designer can be like, you know, a celebrity like this, and you know, just kind of like transcend the industry, and so other people who aren't in the industry kind of know him, or at least have, you know, bought stuff from him and stuff. I mean, it's you know, it's that level of success that.
I know what you mean. I mean, it's hard to. It's sort of like the whole celebrity thing. It's sort of like separating the ones that I, as a comic fan and a graphics fan, follow, being in the know, but the ones, the small handful of graphic designers that everybody knows.
Yeah.
I mean, who's the one who did all those graffiti pieces? Those died of AIDS in the early '90s, but was best known for those sort of dancing blob things for kind of graffiti art.
Oh wow, I have no idea.
I know the guy you're talking about, and they're very simplified, fat-lined stick figures doing dances. What was it?
I'm embarrassed that I'm blanking on it too.
Yeah, his stuff was everywhere, and he started off as a subway graffiti artist. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys have. Do you guys know an illustrator named Greg Manches?
The name doesn't sound familiar. What's his work look like?
I'm pulling up his website. So I remember seeing this. I think it's Patron tequila bottle advertisement. It was done in this really painterly style, and it was just gorgeous. I think I saw it in like an airport or maybe a magazine or something. But I was just like blown away by how amazing an illustration it was. And then when I went to the IMC this year, you know, Greg Manches was kind of doing his presentation, and he was showing his body of work, and there was the Patron bottle, and I was like, holy crap! And it's just like you know, this guy, I'm sure I've seen his stuff in like so many places, but I never knew his name. And Boris Vallejo was at the IMC, and he's another one of those you know, amazing illustrators, artists that probably everybody has seen his work, but they don't really know his name unless they're like in the industry. And it's just kind of crazy to me, like, you know, how much of an impact people can have, where they're almost, you know, famous, even though nobody knows their name.
Mm-hmm.
One of my old clients was a man named Rufus Carlson. And Rufus was on the team designers that came up with the Coca-Cola bottle.
Oh, nice.
Wow.
So, you know, just meeting with him and having him for a client. Oh, man, we were working on this big thing where we spent like 9 months putting together material. This was right on the edge of desktop publishing. And so we put together tons of materials that were prefabbed that the banking industry, or this one bank, could use for like it's the type of stuff that everyone does now, totally innocuous stuff that people do. They've got clip art out the wazoo for it, you know, putting up a little sign saying we'll be back later, that type of thing. But we had put together a whole big package of it, specifically branded to this one bank. And we're all scheduled to go in and do our presentation that Monday. And Rufus calls me up and he says, Mark, it's all dead. I said, what do you mean it's all dead? Says, today is being known as Black Monday. Not only is there is our meeting canceled with these people, but half the people, he said, no, it was even more than that. It was like 75% of the people in the marketing department got laid off that day, just that morning. Without the numbers fell so fast and so furious that these people went to work with a job, and then before 10 o'clock, they had been laid off. That's how hard Black Monday hit.
What year was this?
When was Black Monday? I'm trying to remember.
Mid-90s, wasn't it?
Earlier than that, I think. But so that really hit me hard, and it hit Rufus kind of hard too, because, like I said, both of us had worked. Rufus had worked hard trying to understand what all this computer stuff was about, because, you know, he's a bit of a Luddite, didn't have a computer. A lot of people were still, you know, getting used to using fax machines. So, and just kind of knocked the wind out of me, because we were really, you know, we thought Rufus, his skill was doing the presentation. That's he was one of the old, you know, marketing guys, and highly respected, could be very persuasive, and I was just looking forward to getting this in, because if it had gone through, you know, if we had sold it like the week before, it would have been bought. I would have been in the money. Not only would there have been a substantial amount up front, but there would have been, you know, a whole bunch of work following it as their needs would additionally arise from it. But, oh, man. Okay, I'm curious. I gotta check the internet and find out when Black Monday was.
Yeah, that's pretty tough. I imagine something like that is probably coming up. I mean, hopefully not like Great Depression, but yeah, you hear things on the internet about people thinking that the next crash is coming.
Well, I've gone through 3 of them. Let's see. 1987 is when it happened. I just worked out from working in another agency and was breaking off and doing more illustration work and starting with Rufus. Oh man, we had so much fun. So this Black Monday was the first big setback for me. The next big setback was the .com bust. That really hurt the industry. And then the latest recession. During the .com bust, almost all I would say more than half the agencies in Seattle died within a period of a month.
Holy cow.
Well, you got to keep in mind that there were all these, you know, website companies, and there were a ton of them in Seattle, because, you know, we're very close to Microsoft, so you have the whole northwest version of the Silicon Valley thing happening. Anyway, the way that design worked back then is, if you were a graphic artist, you could make additional amounts of money by covering the print expenses for your client ahead of time and then marking them up significantly, like say 20%. So let's say you did a big press run you make sure that the printer got paid within its 30-day net. You'd cover the cost of the printing because sometimes your client would take longer than 30-day net to pay up, but you could charge up to 20 or 30% more on just the print project on top of the art direction. It's sort of like what's considered an art direction fee.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of designers, that's how they made their money, was not so much on the design, but from a good part of their chunk of their money was from covering the print expenses.
Essentially just being a middleman?
Yes, being a middleman. And this was common. This was standard practice. Okay. You'd have these .com companies, and also you had these designers, and designers did everything on 30-day net. So they were building all these websites and doing all these website designs for 30-day net. You'd have this big marketing rollout, all this collateral material. You would have these outlandishly lavish launch parties. I mean, there used to be a bunch of studios inside Seattle that did nothing but had things like costumes and props, like movie props. There were movie prop or prop companies, about, I would say, a dozen of them, so that you could hire them to come in and do a big lavish production for you based on whatever thing. And they did. I mean, they just did the most outlandish stuff. And they'd hire carpenters or whoever needed, or mural artists, be painting on canvases to get all this crazy stuff done. And things would be on order. And then what happened during the .com bust, all these companies went bankrupt practically overnight. They just disappeared. And they left all the designers, all these people holding the bag as far as money and expenses. We're getting a double echo on my voice. Where's that coming from?
I wasn't sure. It was from, I was hearing it from Ian for about 10 seconds, but
really?
Away.
Let me switch to microphone and headset. I'll get rid of it.
It's gone away now, Ian. It was just there for a little bit.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, tell me if it comes back.
Okay. So,
I mean, you've been through a few of these.
Yeah, not only did the companies go bankrupt, but the designers were bankrupt. It came back.
It came back? Okay. I'll get rid of this.
So all these designers went bankrupt because they were having to try covering the cost of their printers. Print companies went bankrupt because no one could pay them, because suddenly all the designers weren't paying them for all this material that had been printed. I mean, it's not like they could cancel the projects. The projects were in the works. Paper had been ordered. You just can't roll back on some things. After it, those prop, I think there were only 2 prop businesses left in Seattle after that. Also, the catering companies, because these catering companies that would do these big lavish events, they had ordered all the food, that been lined up to do all these events in the future. They had hired on extra staff to handle all this extra workload. There was a dozen catering companies went tits up. It just hit every sector of the marketing industry in Seattle like it was a real gut punch. And you would go to like office stores or secondhand office stores and just see those really expensive ergonomic chairs that used to run like a couple $100 or more. And there would be dozens of them sitting out in the parking lot being sold for $50, whatever people could get their money on or hands sold for. It was really a nasty situation. And so most of my clients were designers. I did illustration for other designers, not for companies, because designers knew your value and they'd pay you your value. And when they, when your clients died by the dozens, I suddenly found myself not working because my client base had disappeared. And the whole agency structure in Seattle never really bounced back after that. I used to do so much agency work.
So how did you survive that?
Let's see, how did I survive that particular time? I always land on my feet doing getting an illustration project from somewhere. Also, I have a survival tactic where I take 25 cents of every dollar I ever make and I put it aside into a separate bank account. And I don't touch it. It's and there were a couple years where I made like 1 year, I think at the .com bust, I only made $14,000 that year.
Jeez.
That's how hard it hit me. What did I end up doing? And then I think what happened was I fell into doing graphic facilitation and storyboards right after that. And I did that. That was about 12 years ago. That sort of lines up. And I also I had in '97. '97 was my best year. I did a lot of work for Microsoft in '97. '97, I made about $98,000 in '97.
Nice.
Well, Microsoft used to have a whole publishing company, and they bought full rights buyout, and I was doing chapter illustrations for them. I'd have like 4 books on my table at any one time. And that particular year, they handed me this one project where I had to do 100 half-inch icons for a book. And my buyout rate for an icon was $200. And they needed them done in 10 work days. I just worked my butt off. Ended up doing, what was it, 90 in the end, somewhere like that. But it was sort of like I made about $18,000 in 2 weeks. So that was nice, and that kind of bumped it up and really helped out that. But that was my best year. But you don't always have good years. You get good years and bad years. And yeah, I realized I was going to have to stop relying on doing work for designers. I had a couple of designers that I kept doing work for that didn't die. Found them very quickly. But realized I had to start looking for corporations rather than small. I never liked doing work with small businesses. Small business work just was always a pain in the butt. But you work with a corporation, they don't even blink twice at your budgets.
Yeah.
So these days, I won't frown at working with small businesses. I have to say I've been doing more and more small business stuff. But I still, it's the corporate work that really pays the big bills.
Yeah, corporate work is one of the reasons I wanted to start my business, because the experience I had doing corporate jobs was just like, wow, if I can get more of this, I'll be great. And unfortunately, it's not that easy just to walk around and suddenly find yourself with corporate work. But when you do have it, it's so nice.
Part of the problem about corporates is that people move around a lot in corporations.
Yeah.
It used to be in that people moved around a lot in the graphic arts agencies in Seattle, but there's a magazine there called Marketing. And every month, Marketing would tell you who got hired up by which agency, so you knew where people had shifted over to. Man, Marketing has since gone to being an email-only PDF an online publication now. But in fact, I wrote an article for their last print copy. I've been friends with the editor for quite some time. And it was on the state of illustration. So me, Sam Day, and another artist, James Stowe, we all three of us co-wrote an article about where illustration was going.
Oh, cool.
And I think I'm going to call this good on his wings as far as expanding out the black. Everyone watching is probably tired of seeing Zontar, and because I've been doing all the talking, I'll let you guys talk so they can see what you're working on now.
Okay. I think I'm making pretty good progress here, if I do say so myself. I've been having a lot of fun improving my abilities to do stuff from scratch on Clip Studio.
Yeah, and if anybody's been watching me during this, you've probably been seeing me play around with the perspective ruler on Clip Studio. That I love the perspective ruler. It's if there was one reason to switch from Photoshop to Clip, it's that.
I'm still getting the hang of it. I tried to use it for this one, and it wasn't, and I must have done it wrong because it wasn't letting me do anything besides the straight lines for the first try. I think I mostly got the 3-point right here, but I'm not, well.
Yeah, you probably have some things that you could shore up, but for the most part, it looks like a solid rough.
Okay, yeah.
Ian, yeah, if you need help with Clip Studio, Doug Hills, who I think is paid by those guys, has like a bunch of YouTube videos, and you know he's actually really accessible too. If you find him on Twitter or something like that.
Doug Hill, you said?
Yeah. Well, now that I say that, let me double check. Have you like looking around in the white pages for somebody that doesn't exist? Let's see.
The most recent thing that really blew me away when experimenting the other day was just how good the watercolor brushes are.
Yeah, I mean, for illustration, Clip Studio is just better. I mean, Photoshop, you know, it's photo editing, you know, and I think it's just kind of had like all of its illustration stuff kind of shoehorned into it. Not that makes it less of a program or anything, but when it comes to something that's like purely dedicated to this stuff, Clip Studio is just the champ.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I'm enjoying just how much I'm learning, because for a while I thought I was getting the hang of just drawing on Clip Studio, but I was still going back to Photoshop for coloring and post, and now I've mostly figured out how to do the coloring on this. So it's only a matter of time before I can do everything here.
Oh, I put up 2 links. One to Doug Hill's main website, which is pnhcomics.com, and then the second to his Manga Studio tutorials on YouTube, which for anybody listening, Manga Studio is Clip Studio. They changed the name a little while ago. I'm kind of disappointed not to see any like recent stuff. He last updated this in November of 2014, so that's not great. But there are some videos on rulers, so you can check that out. I know it helped me a lot, and I mean, if there is some things to say about Clip Studio, one of them is that as far as like navigating the program and understanding like all the stuff you can do, you really have to dig around, and sometimes not even on the Clip Studio site because it's just not going to be there for you.
Right.
I think the program is originally a Japanese program, and so that could
Yeah,
be a
I mean,
translation
one
thing.
of those classic stories of started out as a kid's toy on, hey kids, you want to draw comic books, and then the pros started using it and they started improving on it.
Yeah. So, like I said, if you send an email or like throw out a tweet to Doug Hills, when I did reach out to him, now I think about it, it was a few years ago too. He was responding. So I don't know if he's still doing that. I mean, hopefully he's still in the game, but he was kind of like the ambassador for helping everybody understand, Manga Studio at the time. Yeah, his website hasn't been updated in a while too. I hope he's I hope he's still around. Jeez.
Well, I haven't updated my website in 10 years, so it's just because
Okay.
So he's probably just busy.
Yeah.
Or like exceptionally lazy and
Yeah, I have to say, I'm really glad I got on today because I have been thinking about the next crash and all that stuff, and this is going to be the first time I've been self-employed and having to think about stuff like that. So maybe setting a little extra aside to kind of help me through the rough times and trying to diversify my client list and all that stuff, or or just get more clients, period. But it's definitely stuff to think about, and it's probably better I think about it now instead of when it's after the fact. So
another thing that saved my bacon was around that same time, I went from, because I was starting to do corporate work, I went from trying to price myself to the low end, like a one-time usage, and just price myself for a full rights buyout. And my smaller clients had a hard time dealing with that until I established that I would put them on a payment schedule.
Yeah, and you've talked about this before. It's a good thing to keep in mind, though. I like that.
Yeah, once I removed myself off of the net 30 feast and famine syndrome and got myself receiving consistent payments all the time, I did that. Really eased up both my mindset and everything else. When you're not stressing about saying, "Oh my God, I gotta take this because I need 300 next week." Well, if you know you're going to have at least 300 next week, then it makes saying no to the bad projects a lot easier. And I also started saying no to a lot more projects.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's one thing I frequently find the most frustrating is when I get I'm telling my friends about that, and they're in their best intentions are telling me, "Oh no, sell out, sell out." It's no.
Well, there's always going to be someone who can do the project cheaper than you.
Yeah.
And especially in recent years, competition overseas. I mean, I do like almost no logo work anymore, unless the person really just wants me, because you want just a rinky-dink logo for a nothing budget. You can get one online through India. You can get a dozen ideas and have your pick.
Yeah, I mean the one that annoys me the most is this friend of mine who keeps telling me to try different styles, and he doesn't accept the fact that the style is the product.
I had to tell my fairly early on in my career, I think it was about year 7, I had to be very firm with people saying that I wasn't going to I could emulate other artists' work all the time, and that was part of the reason why people coming to me. But then I just said, sorry, I'm not going to be emulating other people's work anymore. And of course, they're upset that you're not doing that because it means you're not going to do the project that they wanted you to do. But unless you start making a name for your own design and your own image, you're not going anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
So, Mark, are you doing Inktober with the prompts, or are you doing like a specialist? Or
Actually, I am going to be working on Deck 2 of Obscure Movie Monsters.
oh, okay.
I've got a long list of some obscure movie monsters. Let me see if I'll pull it up for you. People have been, since my last deck, people have been doing a wonderful job of giving me movie suggestions. And it's going to be hard for me to choose. I mean, at first I thought I'd found every obscure horror movie out there. I thought I'd dug pretty deep. But I was proven wrong. So
I'm doing the prompts for the first time. Though admittedly, at the moment looking at them, I'm sort of drawing complete blanks and panicking.
Well, what are some of the prompts?
Let's see. The first one was whale, sharp. Here I have them. Where do I have them?
oh, whale's easy. Just do the worst case scenario of Geppetto and Pinocchio.
Oh.
Or even Jonah and the whale. You know.
Well, that was a fish, technically.
Fine.
Yeah, so...
He's so precise that it just kills all the joy in the room, Bill.
Yeah, so anyway, what we have here is poisonous, tranquil, roasted, spell, chicken, drooling, exhausted, star, precious, flowing, cruel, whale, guarded, clock, weak, angular, swollen, bottle, scorched, breakable, drain, expensive, muddy, chop, prickly, stretch, thunder, gift, double, jolt, slice.
Well, I think if you're lacking inspiration from that list, what I would suggest is, since you find it easier to like work off of fairy tales and existing things, is to kind of like mash it up. So like maybe, well, didn't you do Grimm's fairy tales for a month or something like that?
Yes.
Like say, okay, well, how would poisonous match up with Grimm's fairy tale? And then that probably puts something in your head right now, just saying
Yes.
that. Yeah, so instead of doing Grimm's again, maybe just do like Hanna-Barbera cartoons, or
I've come across. There's a few cartoonists I like who did some really good series of Hanna-Barbera ones. Oh, I'm sure I'll get over it quite easily, but
Okay, gentlemen, tell me if you've heard of any of these. They're in somewhat alphabetical order. Attack of the Killer Tomatoes.
oh yes, that was always growing up. That was sort of the most famous bad movie out there.
Attack of the Crab Monsters.
Maybe.
No.
Bacteron. Basket Case.
Nope.
No.
Fake Blood.
Fake blood?
Bay of Blood.
Oh, I'm not sure.
Beast from Haunted Cave.
Maybe.
The Beast Within.
Yes.
You've heard of The Beast Within?
Pretty sure I have. I might have seen it in the textbook.
The Brainiac. The Brood.
I know The Brood.
Black Scorpion. Blood Beach. Blood Diner. The Boogans. Bug. The Creeping Hand. Castle Freak. Day of the Triffids. What? Neither one of you have heard of Day of the Triffids?
Oh yes, I've even seen bits of it.
Okay. Devil Dog, the Hound of Hell. The Deadly Mantis. Deep Rising. Iaga.
Gesundheit.
Is that the name of it?
Yes, believe it or not, it stars Joan Crawford. The Flesh Eaters. The Flying Serpent. Forbidden World.
Oh. Wait, no. I'm thinking Forbidden Planet.
Fright Night.
Fright Night, yeah.
There's been Fright.
Yeah, no, I've definitely heard of Fright Night.
Gargantia. Gargoyles.
Yeah,
Not the animation, Bill.
right.
Der Golem.
Yeah, I've never seen it, but I'm told it's one of the classics of German Expressionism.
The Gorgon. Guanji.
I actually think I saw that. I may have seen that one, actually.
Okay, describe the monster and I'll believe you.
Allosaurus, wasn't it?
Oh, you are pretty good. There you go. You're cowboys and dinosaurs. You're
Though I seem to remember, I was getting it mixed up because I thought I remembered it as the Valley of Guanji.
okay. No, you're thinking of a different one. Guanji. There's another one called the Valley of something that's basically they took Guanji and improved upon it.
Mm-hmm.
Hellraiser.
Right.
I know you guys have heard of it, but have either of you actually seen Hellraiser?
I saw the first one.
Okay.
I have not seen Hellraiser. I remember seeing the movie posters as a kid and just thinking, nope, I'm good.
I have a friend who's a huge fan of the whole franchise, so what I haven't seen, I definitely know about.
Hobgoblins, The Invasion of the Body Snatchers.
Sure.
Oh, I saw both of them last year.
Jack Brooks, Monster Hunter.
No.
The Keep. Now, I'll be surprised if either one of you have seen The Keep. I saw it in the theater, but it only came out on VHS and hasn't been released on DVD because of licensing dispute. Killer Condom.
For real?
Oh, God. No, I haven't seen that.
The Leprechaun.
Yeah, I know. Generally in the list of notoriety, but I've never wanted to see it.
I'm going to have to go through the rest of this list pretty fast because we're past our time limit. The Loch Ness Horror, The Manitou, The Man-Eater of Hydra, Milo, Mimic, Mind Scan, Monster Dog, The Monster and the Girl, The Monster from Green Hell, Nightbreed, Parasite, Prince of Darkness, Pumpkinhead, Razor Black, Reptilicus, Rubber.
I've seen Rubber.
I think I've seen Reptilicus, actually. I think it's I think it's another Mystery Science Theater movie now.
It is a Mystery Science Theater. Roller Gator, which is particularly bad. If you look for YouTube of Roller Gator, and you'll just see how bad that movie is.
Oh dear.
Sounds fantastic, though.
oh no, we're talking hand puppet bad. Okay. The Sand, The Sea Serpent, The Seventh Voyage of Sinbad, The She Creature, Shockwave, Sinbad in the Eye of the Tiger, The Slime People, Slugs, Spookies, The Tingler, Toxic Avenger, Tremors.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, yeah, there we go.
Mm-hmm.
Trog, Up from the Depths, The Wasp Woman, and Zombievers.
Zombievers?
Yes, it was on Netflix, Bill.
That sounds like one of the ones you only see advertised on Variety and never hear from it again.
It was a bit of a lark. It was pretty fun. It didn't take itself too seriously, but it was Oscar material compared to what was that one Gator one? Roller Gator. Oh,
I have to admit the name has me imagining it being certain things of which I'm probably completely wrong.
Gentlemen, I want to thank you for joining me for yet another episode of Epic Sketch Time. If you people watching would like to join, hang on, I'm going to break my screen here. Where is it? Can't stop broadcasting. If you look down in the credits below, you'll find links to Bill and Ian's site as well as my own. You'll also find a subscription. We send out notifications on the weekend before the event to let people know that it's going to happen, and then we send out an invite a few minutes ahead of time. So you can sign up there. Don't worry about not coming in, but please sign up. And you might be, I'm rambling at this point. I will talk to you guys next Monday.
Okay, you have a good one.
All right, take care, everybody.